BGCAP of Central Kentucky. BGCAP is a community action agency or operating in 11 counties of Central Kentucky. This meeting is also hosted by Frankfort Transit, a service operated by the city of Frankfort, Kentucky. BGCAP and Frankfort Transit are providers of federally grant-funded demand response and deviated fixed-route general public transportation in Central Kentucky. My name is David Mentor of RAE Consultants, and I'm working on behalf of Taylor Veach, the Senior Director of Transportation Services at BGCAP. With me today for this online meeting are Taylor Veach and Jennifer Hall. Jennifer is the Transit Supervisor of Frankfort Transit, who will be both available to answer any chat questions we may receive during the course of the meeting. This annual meeting is required, you can go to the next slide, is required of both BGCAP and Frankfort Transit, and who will be applying for Federal Transit Administration grant funds over the next year on behalf of the community for potential funding in fiscal year 2023. Information from members of the community during this meeting will help both BGCAP and Frankfort Transit with their applications. BGCAP's mission is to serve those who are challenged, lower income, elderly, and veteran populations by providing a mix of general public transportation, Medicaid-funded transportation, and contractual services. BGCAP also acts as a lead agency in the area for the acquisition of vehicle capital funding from the FTA to support nonprofit organizations. As part of these grant applications, BGCAP and Frankfort Transit would like to hear from you on how their services can best be tailored to accommodate the needs of the community. So your input is important to these agencies at this meeting. On the next slide, we see that the services operated by BGCAP as well as Frankfort Transit include those funded from the Federal Transit Administration's 5310 grant program. Projects funded by 5310 per the FTA are to be derived from a locally developed coordinated public transit and human services coordination plan. So the purpose of this meeting is to gain information for BGCAP and Frankfort Transit's fiscal year 2023 agency coordination plan, and will help staff members from both agencies to plan for the needs of the community, to help identify any gaps in transportation services that the community needs, and to help identify any overlaps in transportation that may exist. Also, if there are any qualifying area social service agencies who have qualifying FTA replacement vehicle needs, and you know who you are, please contact Taylor Veach directly at taylor.veach@bgcap.org. In terms of our meeting outline today, this meeting is organized with a presentation first by Frankfort Transit on their service, and then we'll take questions about and comments about their service. After that, we'll follow with a presentation of BGCAP's transportation services and take questions and comments about BGCAP services. For those of you who are listening to this presentation live on March 8th, we will use the chat function in the Google Meets application to ask questions or to make comments. In your Google Meets application, look for an icon which is located in the application in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. This year's meeting is being held online due to the ongoing COVID pandemic, and we are using the web-based meeting application called Google Meet. In this application, users' names are recorded by your signing in already. During the meeting, users are going to use the chat function if they have questions or comments, but after this meeting, users may still email their questions or comments for up to 1 week, up to the 15th of March, by emailing Taylor Veach or Jennifer Hall directly. Their emails are noticed here and will be also provided at the end of the meeting. After this meeting, the emails are taylor.veach@bgcap.org and Jennifer Hall is at jmhall@frankfort.ky.gov. Again, we'll show those emails again at the end of this meeting. For those who are listening to us live right now, and for those of you who are watching for the full week afterwards, we will be moving on right now to Jennifer Hall, who will be talking about Frankfort Transit and their services. And then while she's speaking, make sure to think about your questions you'd like to ask live if you're watching us live right now by using that chat function. Take it away, Jennifer.
All right. So thank you very much, David, for the nice introduction. As stated before, my name is Jennifer Hall. I am the superintendent for Frankfort Transit. And I want to start by also thanking Taylor and BG Cap for coordinating this and making sure that we're always part of their coordination meeting and helping us to gather information from our community and be able to really know how to best facilitate this community with transportation needs. It's always a pleasure to coordinate with Taylor, and I know it's very important for our community. During my portion of this meeting, I'm going to give just a brief overview of our services that are offered by Frankfort Transit. I'm going to discuss how we coordinate our efforts with BG Cap, and I will also look into the vision that we have for the future of Frankfort Transit. And then, of course, most importantly, I'll make sure to take comments and questions from all of you, and we'll go ahead and see what more we can do to continue our services. So let's go ahead and we'll get started. So Frankfort Transit operates under the authority of the City of Frankfort. Frankfort Transit's mission is to deliver a variety of transportation choices that link people and jobs and community both cost effectively and safely. We provide services throughout the entire city limit of Frankfort, and we meet the needs of all of our citizens, including seniors, individuals with disabilities, those that are living in low-income areas within the community, and the overall general public and businesses. Frankfort Transit will apply for federal and state grants under sections 5311, 5339, 5339B under the Federal Transit Act of 1964 as amended. These funds are to be used for fiscal year 23 capital equipment improvement and for our general transit operations. During COVID, we learned a lot about how our community needs to be served on a very basic level. And we were able to adjust our services in ways that will benefit us not only through COVID, but it'll also benefit us into the future. We to resuming several of our services that were suspended during COVID this year. And we are also going to finally introduce some services that we've been just really trying to get off the ground since pre-COVID. So we're really excited for what this year has to bring. During the past 2 years, we've seen several of our beloved staff that have retired or have relocated. And now we are finally on track to be able to get to our full employment so that way we can produce full services. So we're really excited and we're really hopeful that we're going to meet all of our goals for this year. So just a little bit about Frankfort Transit. We are pretty small. We have a fleet of 31 vehicles. We typically have a staff of 25. We, like I said earlier, we service within the city limits of Frankfort. We provide a deviated fixed route, and during normal operation, the Frankfort Transit route runs 3 deviated fixed routes from 6:45 a.m. until 6:05 p.m. And we also have 2 deviated fixed routes on Saturdays that run from 8:45 to 3:05. And the deviated fixed route is a route that runs on a timetable, goes around and around in a circle, but it's also able to deviate off of that route up to 3/4 of a mile. And the route, the regular route costs 25 cents. And if we do a deviation, then that's 50 cents. And everyone gets 1 free transfer between buses. In addition, hold on. Let's see. Yeah, in addition to the okay, so the deviations, that's what helps us to accommodate for our ADA requirement. So that way everybody within the city limits of Frankfort has accessibility to our bus system. Deviations do require a 24-hour advance notice, and that can be done through our dispatch office, and that contact information will be later on. And my light goes off frequently, so I just have to wave every so often. I apologize for that. We also offer a demand response service, which is a door-to-door service. It goes from Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And this provides service. I'm sorry. This service requires a 24-hour in advance notice. Its cost is $2 per trip. And we also have what's called job access, and that uses the same rules as our demand response, so the same amount of notice, but that provides transportation to and from work for citizens that are unable to use our deviated fixed route due to location, or maybe their work starts before our buses run, or it starts or they can't get back by the time that our buses are getting back. So, and then it also is for those that cannot access our regular route due to disability. We also have a senior route. We currently are not using our senior route because the senior center has been closed, but when they reopen, we will be here for them. And the senior route is also a door-to-door service. It's facilitated by a 16-passenger bus. And seniors receive an ongoing reservation on the day that they decide. And the route takes them from their home to the senior center and back, and it's 25 cents per trip. And then we have a seasonal trolley, which everybody's getting really excited for because it's about ready to get up and going. It starts in April, and it runs April through October. And the trolley provides a historic scenic tour through downtown district and the areas of interest for tourists. It also is used by many downtown residents as a very convenient way to access other downtown businesses and areas, including the library or city hall, and the cost for this service is free. And finally, we have a nonprofit event shuttle service, and this service is on a first come, first served basis. It's for nonprofit organizations that request shuttles from one area for areas that begin and end within the city limits. It's typically used by like tourism or sometimes some county offices may use this if they're within the city limits, and it just provides a way for transportation for nonprofit groups. And I'm going to take, okay, we're good. Coordination. Frankfort Transit coordinates with BG CAP to provide access to an intercity feeder route transportation service, such as BG CAP's their Frankfort Connection service. And we also coordinate to provide Medicaid transportation to citizens that reside within the city limits. So a little bit about Frankfort Connection. We have worked together with Taylor to provide our stops, and we will transport passengers to those stops, and then BG Cap lovingly takes them to Lexington and then brings them back to our stop. So it's just one way to facilitate being able to get to Lexington, and they do a great job with that. And I'm sure he'll be talking about that more in his portion of the presentation. We also coordinate our efforts with Miller Transportation. We make sure that our routes run earlier than Miller's schedule, so that way there's time for them to be able to get to the stop. And we also allow them to use our bus stop that's located at Walmart. So that's kind of our coordination efforts that we do with Miller Transport. So recently, well, it was actually October of 2020, we conducted a survey, and we had an advantage during the survey period because passengers were able to compare and contrast our pre-COVID routes to our COVID phase routes that we were doing at the time, and they got to decide which they liked better. It turns out they really liked the COVID routes. So we're able to accommodate based off of these surveys. And the survey also showed two other main results. Number one, that the personal interactions between Frankfort Transit staff and the public were generally perceived as very positive. So we were really happy with that. It seems like we're doing a very good job servicing our community, and passengers are very appreciative of our services. And second, there are areas that the public does feel that we could have some improvement. So the two areas that passengers felt the most improvement was needed was with the ride times and extending our services further into the evenings. And Frankfort Transit will be addressing both of those concerns this year. We're going to be using the information from the survey. We're going to do we've developed a phased approach to be able to get us to what we will deem as full service, because of course we're not there yet, so we're getting to full service. The first part of the phase we're already doing. We already run 2 buses on East and West, and they're 30 minutes apart, whereas before we had an hour wait. Now there's only a 30-hour wait, so that's our first phase. We also intend to, so East actually doesn't run the entire time that West does with 2 buses, so we still need to add an additional bus to East, and that's going to be happening very soon within that first phase. The second phase we intend to begin in April, and that will be re-implementing the Fast Connect or the purple route. And something that's going to be a little unique is we're going to run it the opposite direction of the other 2 buses. So that will provide faster service to some of our higher trafficked areas like Walmart and Kroger on the west side. And it also gives an opportunity to pick up passengers on the other side of the street that we've not ever been able to access before. Our third phase approach is we are going to extend our hours of operation to 6:45 from 6:45 a.m. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong. I should have put that one up above. We've already talked about this one. Next is our extended service hours, and the new hours will be Monday through Friday, 6:45 a.m. to 10:05 p.m. And that just gives people an opportunity that if they do happen to work a later shift, they still have time to be able to get home. And then if they got home and they need to go to the grocery store, that gives them time to be able to do that. In order to facilitate these phases, we will be hiring an additional full-time person and also 2 part-time positions. So bear with us. As everybody knows, it's a little tough in hiring right now. And so we'll facilitate that just as the staffing provides for us to be able to do so. Frankfort Transit into the future. We have some pretty big plans. The first, as many of you have probably already heard, we have applied for a grant to build a new intermodal transit center. And this center would provide a larger facility for Frankfort Transit staff, as well as many advantages to the community. The facility is going to provide a public lobby space that is air conditioned and heated. It will have restrooms, a ticket booth, information desk, covered transfer station, 150 parking spaces to be used just for transit. So it'll have, well, the public, but obviously transit, our fleet will be there then. We'll have transit agency employees, rideshare, Uber and Lyft can use it. We'll have bike and scooter rentals, and then we'll have additional public parking as needed. Then we also have some future innovations happening. So we have been investigating the creation of a new industrial park shuttle service. This service would provide earlier and later hours of operation, and it would be a door-to-door service. Costs for this service would be shared between the city of Frankfort and the industrial parks that are located within the community. We are also investigating additional sources of revenue. We really want to strive to keep our fares to the lowest rate that we possibly can. And one of the best ways to facilitate that is to try to find additional sources of revenue that doesn't get passed on to our community through the cost of fares. So we plan on doing advertising on our buses and bus shelters within the community. We also are looking into the possibility of starting a charter service. And with charter, the buses would be able to be rented for throughout the community for special events. We could go to Lexington or Louisville, and waiting. And it just kind of provides an additional service for some fun things. And we also are preparing ourselves right now to be ready to subcontract with BG Cap in the future to provide Medicaid transportation. We received funds in fiscal year 21 to update all of our bus stop signs, and we have been working diligently. We've actually put out a couple of different bids. They haven't been exactly what we like. We have one going right now, in fact. And the new design would provide additional information such as stop times and route assignments. And these signs would also be more accessible, and it'd be a lot easier for the public to navigate our transit system, because each sign will have a map of where they are and what they're getting, what route they're needing to get to where they need to get to. So that was a lot of information and a little bit of time, and I apologize for my speed of talk. This completes my presentation portion, and I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it. And we have some exciting things happening, and I'm glad that you were able to hear about them.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for that. You have some pretty exciting things coming up. I think we're all looking forward to the Downtown Transit Center as a connecting facility, and your expanded hours is pretty interesting to hear. We also like the fact that your light goes on and off as you're speaking. It adds to a little bit of interest as presentation.
It has a little depth of character, right?
Anyway, to all those who are listening, that was Jennifer Hall, the transit supervisor at Frankfort Transit. Again, if you're just joining us here during this presentation, during the evening of March 8th, between the hours of 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. Eastern, this is a live online public transit coordination meeting being hosted by the Transportation Division of the Bluegrass Community Action Partnership, or BGCAP, of Central Kentucky, and also a meeting of Frankfort Transit, a city service provided by the city of Frankfort. If you are viewing us live at this time, we will take any questions and comments from you now about Frankfort Transit via the Google Meet function located here in your Google Meet application. The chat function is should be located in the lower right-hand menu bar of your Google Meet application. If you're viewing this presentation after March 8th and have a question or comment, please don't hesitate to email Jennifer Hall directly at jmhall@frankfort.ky.gov. So, Jennifer Hall, how does it look with your questions there? If you have any questions at this time, do you have anything for us to respond to?
So far, I don't have anything.
It was really well
just
put.
say a question.
That's because you put it so well. It was so obvious. So again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a comment or question for Jennifer at this time, and you're watching us live on March 8th here between the hours of 6:30 and 7:30 Eastern, please do look and find that lower right-hand corner chat function on your menu bar in Google Meets. We'll take a second here if anybody wants to locate that and flag a question to Jennifer Hall. How does that look now? Should we keep moving, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think we can keep moving. For anybody that's watching on Facebook, the more help we have in knowing what services you guys are needing, the better. So by all means, email me, put it in the chat, whatever you have available. I mean, we're here, so we want to know what you guys need. Terry asked a question. She said, what response have you gotten from the industry? I will be honest, Terry, we started this pre-COVID. And I had about 3 companies, and I can't even name them right now because it's been so long. I can look it up and make sure to let you know who they are, because maybe you can help me reach out to them again. The letter that I sent out was just in, hey, let's get together and even see if this is something that you guys would be interested in helping us with. And then COVID hit. And so we didn't get any further than that. I know they're all dealing right now with staffing issues as well. And so I have kind of let the ball drop on this one because, we need to pick it back up again and get started. So whatever help you can give is great. And Natalie, thank you. I appreciate it. We really try our best to serve this community. So thank you.
Natalie says there in the chat function, it's amazing with all the work you're doing. Keep it up. So congratulations, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks, Terry. I appreciate it. I'll get with you very soon on that because we need to hit the ground running on it for sure.
Well, please continue to ask your questions here if you have them, and they're going to Jennifer during the course of the meeting and you think of it. We're going to move on probably, I think right now, to BGCAP's portion of the presentation. But again, go ahead and use that chat function if you think of something you want to ask Jennifer, or during this next part about BGCAP, you're certainly welcome to use that chat function. That's in the lower right-hand corner of your screen in Google Meets. Again, this is a live online presentation being recorded here on March 8th between the hours of 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. on March 8th. If you have questions and you're watching this by tape after the meeting for the next week, it'll be available on Frankfort Transit's website and BGCAP's website. Certainly able to email Jennifer Hall and Taylor Veach with emails that'll be shown here at the end of the meeting. Let's move on here to the BGCAP portion of the presentation, Jennifer. And on behalf of BGCAP, I'll just jump in and provide the information on the services and describe the services that they're providing. Again, and if you have any questions or comments, please use that chat function in Google Meets on the lower right-hand side. The Bluegrass Community Action Partnership, if you want to move on there, thank you, Jennifer, serves curb-to-curb, area-wide demand response service to an 11-county area here in central Kentucky. Many people know about this service. Again, requires a 72-hour advance reservation. Primarily, it is serving those who have special needs transportation needs for Lifeline services, especially serves Medicaid clients. Trips that are eligible for Medicaid clients and are eligible Medicaid trips are able to be billed directly to Medicaid by BGCAP on behalf of the client. Medicaid services and for the BGCAP demand response service operates approximately from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays through Fridays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Medicaid service does go up until 8 p.m. For Medicaid eligible clients on Medicaid eligible trips during the week. It is also open to the general public. Many people don't know the demand response service is available to members of the general public for $1.75 per mile within the 11-county service area with a $5 minimum one-way fee. Fare reductions are available too, also for certain trips. The key focus again is on clients of Medicaid, clients of dialysis centers, food banks, medical centers, and Lifeline trips to grocery stores for all area citizens. Another service that BGCAP provides is its deviated local fixed route service, which operates currently in Georgetown with 2 routes, Nicholasville 1 route, and Danville 1 route. These services in these towns are open to all members of the general public with no advance reservations whatsoever. Fares are currently dropped due to COVID. And the service operates Monday through Saturday. Current frequency on these routes is every 90 minutes. Route deviation requests are allowed within a half a mile and 24-hour notice. The big news that BGCAP has here on the next slide is that these local routes will be expanded in 2022 in Georgetown, Nicholasville, and Danville. The new services will be announced later this year, but will operate from newly signed bus stops with no reservations, again, to all members of the general public. Georgetown, the route there on the left, will operate with 2 routes hourly and will have service to stops including the Georgetown campus of BCTC, as well as Toyota. Nicholasville will have in the center, the map there in the center will have 3 routes, and it will also increase its service to hourly from the current 90-minute loops. And Danville will also, the map there on the right, have 3 routes operating hourly. The Envision service is planned to start from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on their expanded hours and operate Saturdays from approximately 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. These new services will be point-to-point routings so that riders will be able to get around town faster. On more direct routing, they'll have far more destinations, and the frequencies, as I said, will be increased. Look for these service dates to be announced for these increased frequencies and services on these routes in Nicholasville, Danville, and Georgetown later this year. Moving on to the existing intercity service that BG-CAP operates. As Jennifer mentioned, there is a route that BG-CAP currently operates from Frankfort to Lexington. As well, there is another route from operating from Nicholasville to Lexington and another from Danville to Lexington. These current services are open to the general public, and reservations are needed currently with 24-hour advance notice, and they operate from Monday through Saturday. But moving on here in the next slide, BG-CAP has plans here in 2022 to increase these services and add a route from Georgetown, so that intercity service to Lexington will be provided from Georgetown to Lexington, Frankfort to Lexington, and Danville via Nicholasville to Lexington. The service will operate twice daily with one round trip from every satellite town into Lexington in the morning and one round trip into Lexington from each of the satellite cities in the afternoon. No reservations will be required. People will just be able to walk up to bus stops and newly signed bus stops. Stops in Lexington are envisioned to include, and with agreements yet to be put into place, but are envisioned to include the University of Kentucky, LexTran, Greyhound, University of Kentucky Shuttle Hub, as well as BCTC campuses in Lexington. Stops in Georgetown include Georgetown College, downtown Georgetown, and stops along South Broadway in Georgetown. On the Danville-Nicholasville route, Danville stops will include Center College, downtown Danville, as well as the Nicholasville Library and downtown Nicholasville. In Frankfort, stops are envisioned at Merrow and St. Clair Street downtown, and in downtown Frankfort at the Frankfort Transit Terminal, East Main Street in Frankfort at the Kentucky State University overpass, as well as Frankfort's Kroger store, near the Frankfort Kroger store on Versailles Road in Frankfort. Dates are anticipated to be announced for this effective new service is expected to be announced later this year. BG-CAP is really interested in and excited to be able to provide these new services. So at this time, we really want to hear from you and the public. That's a lot of what we think and what we have to say about the new service. But this meeting is about what you think. And we really want to hear what gaps exist for the general public that you see. We'd also like to hear if there's any overlaps and what are existing needs from social service agencies that we are coordinating with that we may not already know about. So again, today, if you're watching us live on March 8th, please use the chat function at this time in the Google Meets application, which is found in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Please use that right now. Don't hesitate to jump on that and make a comment or ask a question. We've got Jennifer Hall here if you have previous questions from Frankfort Transit, and the Taylor Veach here also from the Bluegrass Community Action Partnership. So jump in and please use that chat function at this time.
So John Unger has his hand raised. So John, if you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hey, I was wondering about the intercity new transports. What's the cost on that going to be?
Taylor, would you like to jump in on that? We gotta unmute you there, Taylor.
We have not set a rate at this point. We're doing a fare analysis right now, but my guess is going to probably be in the $10 range. It may be less, but I really, until we get our fare analysis completed, we want to make it affordable for people. Currently, we're selling round trip tickets, but we're going to be selling one-way tickets in the future.
Thank you for that question, John.
Sorry, I couldn't answer it any more specifically than that, but that should give you an idea what we're thinking.
Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, BG-CAP is really excited to be able to provide that service. And again, we're coordinating, Taylor's coordinating closely with Lextran and other transit partners for the location of those bus stops. And so look for that information to be announced, including for that fare later this year for that intercity service. So thank you so much for that that question. While we're waiting for anybody else to ask questions at this time here live on March 8th, I just want to remind everybody, if you happen to be watching this after March 8th, this live presentation that's occurring right now will be available on Frankfort Transit's website as well as BGCAP's website up until March 15th. If you are watching it after March 8th, please make sure to email Taylor Veach or Jennifer Hall directly. Do we have any other questions currently at this time, Jennifer, from people or comments about BGCAP's planned new service for Frankfort Transit?
We do not. I think it was a very good presentation of what you guys have to offer.
We are happy and willing and able to listen to any comments or questions that you may have here. Again, this is a live presentation occurring on March 8th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Google Meets. If we don't, Taylor, do you have any comments or questions or comments that you would like to make before we wrap this up here this evening about your service and about coordination with Frankfort Transit?
Well, I just want to say that we're kind of in the initial stages of this. So we will be getting more information out probably the next few months. We're excited to continue working with Frankfort Transit. And I appreciate everybody that has taken their time to be at this meeting tonight. That's what I have to say. I'd be happy to take any questions by email as well after the meeting, if anything pops into your head after the meeting's over.
Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for that. And everybody that's listening here, or if you're listening even after this meeting is live and you're watching it on websites, on BGCAP's website or Frankfort Transit's website, please make sure to email Taylor Veach. At this time, again, I think we're going to wrap this up. Jennifer, what do you think here? Did you want to add anything else?
No, I think we're great. Just thank you everybody for attending. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Well, again, this has been an online public transportation coordination meeting recorded live on March 8th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This public meeting has been hosted by the Transportation Division of the Bluegrass Community Action Partnership, or BGCAP, of Frankfort, Kentucky, and also Frankfort Transit, a city public transportation service provided for the citizens of the city of Frankfort by Frankfort, Kentucky. With us this evening have been Jennifer Hall, Transit Supervisor at Frankfort Transit, and Taylor Veach, the Senior Director of Transportation Services at BGCAP, a public transportation provider in 11 counties of central Kentucky. Additional comments related to this meeting about Frankfort Transit program may be made up until March 15th by emailing Jennifer Hall directly at jmhall@frankfort.ky.gov, as shown here on the screen on this final slide. And then additional comments related to this meeting about BGCAP Transit's program can be made by March 15th by emailing Taylor Veach at taylor.veach, that's VEATCH, at bgcap.org. Recordings of this meeting, again, will be available on the websites of our two public transit agencies until March 15th at www.transit.frankfort.ky.gov or at BGCAP at www.bgcap.org/bgcap_bus.html. These addresses here are noted on this final slide of our slide presentation. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for listening. This has been a presentation that we love to do every year with Jennifer and BGCAP and Frankfort Transit. And we'll see you all next time. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, David.
Bye now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.